Welcome to the uni-max workshop. My name is Tomasz Krasinski. Let's make laminated wood. Laminated wood is a semi-finished product used in carpentry for furniture production, such as tabletops, but also in the construction of staircases, specifically for making treads. Laminated wood can take the form of a board or a panel depending on the aspect ratio. In any case, it is glued together from several pieces, whether they are strips, boards, or beams. I used to feel that laminated wood was just a cheaper substitute for solid wood from a single piece. But it's not quite like that. Solid wood, if not properly processed and treated, tends to warp. Such an ideal large piece of lumber is quite rare. You need to know how to select and work with it. So yes, it is generally cheaper to make a dimensional board from laminated wood than from a single piece. But what is perhaps even more important is that properly made laminated wood is stable and does not warp. Additionally, you can theoretically extend laminated wood indefinitely by gluing. Perhaps the simplest way to produce laminated wood is from a single piece of lumber, which we cut into equally wide slats or beams, and then rotate and glue them together. Proper rotation ensures the alignment of the bow and also the continuity of the flame pattern. This is another aspect where you can literally work magic with laminated wood. It depends on whether you have side or center lumber, as this influences the pattern on the surface. Side lumber stands out with a distinct pattern known as flame pattern, which is the result of the so-called tangential or tangential cut. In contrast, closer to the center is the lumber with a parallel pattern, which is created during the so-called in a radial cut. However, if you cut any lumber into beams with a square cross-section, you can determine the shape of the resulting laminated wood by rotating them, similar to how you would with children's picture blocks. Equipped with this theoretical knowledge, we can confidently start the production of laminated wood. Specifically, I have plain spruce boards available with a cross-section of 40 by 200 mm and a length of 1 m. I need to create a board with a thickness of 30 mm from them. The boards are visibly warped. If we were to compare them in this condition, we would lose a lot of material. So it would be better to straighten the edge and cut the material into beams that are 34 mm wide. Due to the bow, the edges will not be completely perpendicular, but that doesn't matter because we will run the glued laminated wood through the thickness planer. However, if you do not have a thickness planer and want to glue the laminated wood cleanly, with the intention of just sanding it afterward, make sure to align the edges at least on a table saw. It is ideal to arrange the individual beams in such a way that we maintain the original order. Then it is enough to rotate one piece 90 degrees to one side and another piece 90 degrees to the other side. The beams will be rotated 180 degrees relative to each other, which will balance the tension and simultaneously align the flame pattern. However, it is not always possible to assemble laminated wood from a single piece of lumber. It is necessary to discard defective pieces. We must work more on it. The best view of the growth rings is visible in the cross-section, specifically at the ends of the annual rings. Even without deeper knowledge, it is clear how they alternate. We also need to pay attention to the resulting pattern in the surface to ensure that it does not alternate between radial and tangential cuts. Now, let's move on to the actual gluing. We must use structural woodworking glue. The choice of a specific type depends, for example, on the type of glued wood, the requirement for water resistance, or the so-called open time of the adhesive. Common adhesive of category D2 is suitable for bonding softwoods and is intended exclusively for interior use. Its advantage is a lower price compared to adhesives of categories D3 and D4. When I glue a large laminated wood piece, for example from oak, I use a D4 category adhesive. Specifically, this one is not polyurethane based, yet it has excellent water resistance, a long open time, and works even at low temperatures. Glue can be applied in many ways. It is sufficient to apply it to one of the surfaces being glued, ensuring an even layer. We do not skimp on glue, nor do we waste it. However, estimating the correct amount can only be achieved through practice. Too little glue means lower joint strength, while too much glue will just leak out during pressing without any benefit, and that brings us to what to use for pressing. Aside from professional hydraulic presses, essentially any screw clamp that has sufficient arm opening can be used. However, handling was standard. F-type clamps is more difficult, which is why mostly bench dogs, pipe clamps, or frame clamps are used. Their advantage is the force acting close to the rod, which also serves as a bed for the laminated wood. Nevertheless, it is good to use cross supports and clamp them with opposing brackets. Thank you. All of this can be accomplished in one step with the special clamps for laminated wood produced by uni-max. The wooden strips are pressed together and simultaneously clamped from above and below by massive steel profiles. These are treated with powder coating, which allows for easy cleaning of any adhesive that may have spilled. At one end, there is a bracket with a screw base, while on the opposite side, there is a fixed bracket that can be adjusted in increments of 10 centimeters. The bracket with the screw base can also be adjusted within a small range to one of 3 positions, depending on the thickness of the laminated wood being glued. For thinner materials, the bracket is positioned lower, so it must be secured further from the edge. For gluing, we will need at least 2 pairs of rods and 2 pairs of brackets. The system is designed to be stackable, and for each additional level, we will only need 1 rod for each pair of clamps. The clamps should not be more than 30 centimeters apart, so for every meter in length, we need to have at least 4 clamps. Of course, we can supplement these clamps with some screw clamps to increase pressure and achieve a more even distribution. Similarly, we can distribute the pressure and protect the edges of the laminated wood by using spacers of the same thickness as the laminated wood. We will attach brackets to the rod based on width of laminate with a maximum gluing width of 120 centimeters. If we are gluing a larger quantity of laminated wood strips, we can place them side by side. Don't forget to leave out the adhesive between the outer strips. We place the strips on the bottom bar, and except for the first one, we turn all of them with the glued edge facing up. We gently pull them together and apply adhesive to the entire surface. We loosen the clamps and gradually turn the strips, applying glue to each previous piece. Now we can insert the top rod into the rear clamp, pass it through the front clamp, and start tightening. Thanks to the hexagonal head of the clamping screw, a ratchet, cordless screwdriver, or pneumatic ratchet wrench can be used to speed up tightening and loosening. However, never use an impact wrench for tightening, as it could damage the thread. We will let the material cure in the shape prescribed by the adhesive manufacturer for half an hour at 20 degrees Celsius. Then we can loosen the clamps and remove the excess adhesive while it is still pliable. Further processing is only possible after complete curing, which typically takes 24 hours under normal conditions. It is ideal to pass the laminated wood through a thickness planer to achieve the final thickness. However, if the overall width of the laminated wood does not fit into the machine, we must process smaller pieces and then glue them together to achieve the final width. We will stretch them to a thickness close to 30 millimeters. Leaving a small allowance for sanding. We will align the edges and can glue them together. After the adhesive has cured, the next steps are cutting to final dimensions and, if necessary, filling and sanding. The laminated wood is finished. Now it remains to decide how to shape the edges and possibly what type of surface treatment to choose. Manufacturing with laminated wood is one of the fundamental carpentry skills, and with the right equipment, you can make your work much easier and faster, whether you are a professional or a DIY enthusiast. That's why I placed the link to the clamps used, as usual, in the description below the video. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a like. If you are not subscribed yet, you can sign up using the subscribe button. And if you also click the bell, you will be the first to know about new videos from uni-max. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again.